Hello and welcome to Tight Lines. With storm damage, massive seas and generally dreadful weather, it's hard to imagine that anglers would still be happily going about their business. But we're a hardy bunch, and weather for ducks can also work for fish. One man who's been getting at least his share of the sport is John Popplewell, and I'm really delighted to welcome him here for the first time. John was born and raised around Claxon on the Essex coast, an area that plenty of Londoners have always viewed as a holiday destination. He's still there, and more importantly, still fishing there. As well as hearing plenty from John over the next hour, you can see us both out on the tough pre-Christmas session we had together on John's home turf, Walton Pier in Essex, targeting the usual winter species. We'll also be out in my backyard as I enjoy some quality fly fishing and put a theory to the test at Syon Park in West London, home to some gorgeous rainbows. I'll have my fishery focus too, with essential information on the conditions in store this weekend and the sport to be found by all types of anglers around the UK. And I'll also be announcing January's winners in our Young Angler of the Month photo competition. It was a very tough month, so the prizes are even more deserved than normal. Well, it's good to see you, mate.
Hi, Keith.
It's lovely to have you here, having
nice to see you.
Entertained me on Walton Pier.
Yeah, it was good, wasn't it?
It was good.
Yeah, although the conditions on that day were absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and brilliant for us.
Well, yeah, sorry.
Not so great for the fish.
Brilliant for the camera.
Yeah, you've had some funny old conditions lately.
In fact, the week after that, the pier was pretty well smashed up for...
Was it?
Yeah, on the Saturday afterwards, with force 8, force 9 gales.
Wow. And of course, sea anglers look for a bit of rough.
Yeah, but...
to follow on when the brings the fish inshores, but it's been a bit too much.
Yeah, but not that rough, you know. Well, I have found that this year, that the rougher it is, the more the codling feed.
Really?
Yeah, and when it calms off, as you'll see by the film, you know, maybe you might not get so many big ones, but there's certainly fish there. There's certainly codling there to be caught all the time, but nothing very big.
Well, it's something I've noticed. I mean, when I was first sea fishing back in the 60s, and I went during the coarse fishing close season, which is never a good time for sea fishing, but fish were few and far between, bites were few and far between, but now there's quite a lot more action.
There's certainly a lot more fish there.
Yeah.
But they are of a smaller stamp.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I can count on my hand maybe 5 fish over 10 pounds since last November to now.
Yeah.
You know, that's not really that good.
No, but it's
you know,
better than sitting indoors, there's no doubt about that. Now, it's quite likely that I fished the pier at Walton on the Naze before John, in fact, before he was even born. So it was great to go back recently when I joined the local master for some cod fishing. As has happened so often this winter, it was scarcely cod weather, but I prefer the too warm to the too cold, even if the fish don't.
I don't think it's very big.
It's one of those little notorious whiting.
I think it might be a notorious rockling.
Oh, is it? So
Look at that.
You're right.
Well, I'm blowed.
I just saw
Look at that little baby.
the colour.
You know what? They always remind me of a brown trout.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Burbot.
A burbot.
It's a sea burbot.
It
That's
is a
what
sea
you've caught.
burbot. I don't think I'd like to eat them though. They're cracking little fish. Slipping back. There you go, little fella. Bye-bye. Oh, it's a dreaded...
Pin whiting.
Yes, it's a whiting.
Oh, yeah.
That's slightly bigger than a pin, but not much.
It's a needle whiting.
There's a needle whiting, that one. Needless to say.
Oh. Lovely, wasn't it? £3.
Yeah, big eye on it.
Yeah.
Just unhooking, nice and gently. This is the pennel rig we're using on the pulley. I'm just going to bait it up for the cod because the tide's just turned. So we'll just whack on a few worms. Doesn't have to be too intricate. 2 O-forged hooks. About 4 or 5 lugworm. Now that's a cracking bait. Now this is how it fishes. The idea is fish comes along, grabs hold of the bait, pulls it, The lead comes free at the bottom, stays free from the bottom. You just wind the fish in. And it's all hooked up down to this little device down here for aerodynamics, really. I can just hook it up, hooks up like that. As soon as that lead hits the water, the impact shield on the 5-ounce breakaway lifts up with the force of the water, bait comes off, and you're fishing. It's easy as that.
Well, there's my first contribution to the day.
Well done, Keith.
That was a proper rattle as well.
Yeah, I know,
really,
I saw it. I
really
saw it
had a
go. Yeah. They're getting bigger.
Some way to go yet. That's
well, yeah.
a lovely clean fish, these whiting, and they're vicious little brutes. If you look in its mouth, look, it's got plenty of teeth and they're like needles. The number of times I've caught these at night and finished up with lacerated fingers, but not today. Yeah, there's a lot of little fish down there, you know.
Yeah, it's just that we're not baiting up quick enough.
Another one of our little whiting friends. That comes into the pink category, I think, doesn't it?
Two of them. Not the biggest in the world, but they'll do. Pretty little things. Back you go, fella.
I've probably not fished here, you know, since I would guess the late 1950s, maybe 1960. I came here on a youth club outing, and my middle sister Christine came with me.
All right.
And I bought my fishing rods, and I had a 9-foot 3-piece rod, 2 bits of cane, and a fiberglass top, solid fiberglass top, and a solid fiberglass spinning rod, which was my sea rod. So I used that, and I gave her the other rod with no top in, and we fished just down there with the amusement centre.
Oh, yeah.
Because proper old amusement pier, isn't it, this
Well,
one?
of course it is.
And I sort of let her drop down the edge. I can't even remember what we used, but I probably bought some lugworm in the shop or something. And I caught these 2 little tiny eels about this big, and she had a flipping great big sole. I've never caught a sole. To this day, I've never caught a sole. And she had this great big sole of species. Lovely metallic coppery colours, look. We're losing the tide, we've sort of nearly lost the light now. But it's been a really active day, and there's little fish on here now. We've been minding in fish almost all day,
sure.
just not quite the right ones. We had that one cod that was a keeper that we returned because it wasn't.
I mean, we've had
it was
bites.
A keeper in size only, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've had bites all day.
Yeah, including the Blue Planet cast,
Well, exactly.
the edible crab and the sea anemone in one go.
Yeah. No, that was good.
It's been brilliant. I've really enjoyed it. It was the first time I've fished off a pier for this kind of fishing for I don't know how long. I went to Brighton a few weeks ago, caught loads of mackerel.
Yeah.
But it's the first time I've done this for a while, and it's just, you know, although nobody's going to spend a fortune to come and fish and catch little tiny fish like this, at least there are some fish out there, and if you can get a bit of squid or a few lugworm, you can come and have a day's fishing. And I'm grateful to you for showing me. Thank you very much indeed. I've really enjoyed
That's
it.
fine, Keith. We've had a good day.
We have had
a few fish.
Yeah. Brilliant. Let's get him back, and I think we'll get back on the road.
Yeah,
Cheers, mate. Thanks very much.
That's all right, mate.
Tight line. Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks, Keith.
I didn't slip that whiting surreptitiously into my pocket. It went back. But it's fair to say, as I said there, we had rattles all day long. From first cast to last cast, both our rods were going almost non-stop.
Yeah, it's been good like that all year, from October right through to now. I mean, usually January and February are bad months.
Yeah.
You get the sprat shoals come in,
Yeah.
and everything, the cod are concentrating, they go up in the water and they're feeding on the sprats. This year, I think probably because the water temperature is slightly warmer, the sprats haven't moved in any amount. So all these, the cod, the whiting, are still feeding.
Yeah.
Although, as I said before, the codling, you know, the average size codling could be £1.5, £1.75. And of course, those whiting got smaller.
Yeah.
But of course, we've got dabs as well.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's something, you know, as long as you're getting bites, that's what keeps people going, and that's what I love. Welcome back. Sea angler John Popplewell is my guest today, and as we saw there on Walton Pier, Some of the rigs that you can use these days look very complicated, but basically they're quite simple. And we've seen loads and loads of rigs over the years on tight lines, literally loads. What we've never seen is somebody showing us how to do the intricacies, because I was sort of on the cusp of brass paternosters and knots.
Yeah, yeah.
But now it's crimps and beads and clever stuff.
Well, it's not really clever.
Oh, isn't it?
No, it's not really clever at all. It's fairly easy. I mean, we've got this one here, and it's just a single hook clip-down rig, this one.
Well, if we start right at the beginning...
Yeah.
First of all, if we can just have a closer look at the lead, because it's a breakout lead, so the idea is it sticks in the bottom like that, and when you either get a fish or you wind in, the lead's break out, so it winds in easily.
Yep.
So it doesn't stay stuck on the bottom for ages.
Right.
And then it starts getting a bit clever, because this is the first ingenious bit. That's a bait clip, right?
Exactly, yep.
Just show us how that works.
Right, what you do, you put your hook in there like so, and obviously bait it up, you cast it, and when it hits the water, the impact lead, this yellow piece here, just pushes up, pushes that hook off.
There you go.
So every time it releases.
So,
but through the cast, it's clipped down.
So the bait's not thrown off by the force of the cast, and it stays in perfect condition, streamlined.
Yeah, and it's aerodynamic,
right?
Which is what we need on the East Coast.
Exactly.
We do so much long-distance casting to reach the fish from shallow beaches.
Now, how you set the hook in position, or how John sets the hook in position, is by using these little crimps, a tiny little crimp there, and a bead there, which cushions the swivel from the bead, and a swivel which has got what I would call a hook length, what a sea angler will call a snood, attached. And
Exactly.
how you measure where that goes, just explain this for us, John.
Right. Well, it's not rocket science really. I mean, basically your trace line will probably be about 2 foot, maybe 18 inches, something like that. So then you just clip it onto there, onto the impact lead, bring that up. Where have we got the link?
That's it.
The clip. We just put that on there like that. Just squeeze it. That's that one done.
Now that's now locked in position. You can see where it's been.
Yep.
Can you see where it's go flattened there? You can see where that crimp's just been flattened. That now locks in position. Then you've got your bead and your swivel. And then you get your other crimp.
And just bring that down, but don't bring it right down close to that bead. So you just have it slightly, maybe just slightly further
So
up.
there's a little bit of leeway.
Just a little bit of leeway, maybe there. Just crimp it into place. Now that's fixed, so that should be just one solid line down, aerodynamic line down.
Now when you pick that up now, you can see that the hook length is slightly tighter than the main line, and that's perfect because when you cast, that will stretch a little bit.
Yeah, what I will say as well, Keith, when you're making your hook trace up, always try and stretch it because...
Hold that there. Stretch that out to get any...
Yeah, but I'll tell you why, because this is, I forget what the line is now, amnesia line. It tends to have a little bit of stretch in it. So you need to pull it really tight first before you actually tie it. Because after 3 or 4 casts, it's not going to quite fit in there.
Just one more thing, explain this bit to us.
Right, that's the rubber stop. So you've got your bait on.
Yeah.
You've got a rubber stop, then you've got the sequin.
Yeah.
Right, you put your bait on, because obviously when you're casting, the bait is flying that way on the hook. So the inertia is pushing everything this way.
OK. So that keeps the bait on the hook?
It actually keeps everything nice in place on that
Fantastic. Hook. So now if you're constructing your own rigs at home, you need a crimping tool, you need the crimps and...
Yeah, you can also go to YouTube. I mean, there's lots of stuff on YouTube, trace baking.
Oh, yeah.
No, you can do it that way.
I've had it.
It's easy as that.
Trust me, I've done it.
Well, yeah.
Now, this is a really interesting rig, because this is a little variation on what we actually used on Moulton Pier.
Yeah.
Now, here, this is a different lead. Now, why is this lead this shape?
Well, it's actually flat, so it doesn't roll about. So, I mean, we're only casting this. When we're fishing for soles, we're only casting maybe...
It's a sole rig, is it, this one?
Well, no, it can be a flapper. It's a summer rig, fishing off the beaches, so you can probably cast this 120 yards if you want to. But then all of a sudden, as it gets dark, do you want to make a sole rig up? Maybe not, no. So you can put it tight like this.
Like you see, just look here just for a second, because you'll see exactly the same crimps there as John's used, little beads. And this time you've got a little plastic arm
Yeah, it's just a plastic
Just to
divot boom.
make the hook length stand out a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But basically, soles, when they do move in after dark, they like everything tight on the ground. Right? So if you're fishing like that, 9 times out of 10, they won't pick up those baits. They've got to be tight on the ground.
Because the top of the rod's up here.
Well, the top of the rod's up there.
The seabed's down there.
Exactly. So you need something... I mean, a lot of people fish with the traces the other side of the lead and then another lead that side, which doesn't... Yeah, it's a bit grim. Yeah, it does that.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I've got this little device that I designed, and all it is it's just a simple drill bullet.
Running drill bullet, yeah.
It's a running drill bullet. It's just a swivel on that end and a link on that end.
Yeah.
And what you do...
So just have a look at that there.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's all this, just swivel on a piece of line.
Yeah.
And show us what
yeah.
you do.
Well, you just clip it onto this end, like so. And you can hold that bit out.
Stretch that
Keith,
out.
or you can show it. And basically, that's how it sits in the water. I mean, when you're fishing for soles, you're only casting maybe 30...
They come right at the beach.
40 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, I've caught them 30 feet out.
Yeah. And that is like a carp angler's back lead. Keeps it all nailed down.
Exactly, yeah. That's exactly what it is. And I never fish with a tight line. So I've cast out, and then I just... a little bit of slack in the line. And then I'll be sitting there watching the rod on an angle, and then before you see the bite, you'll just see the line move slightly like that. And then you'll get the bite. And the sole bite, when it bites, do they bite?
They're very aggressive because, you know, you look at them and you see, you know, get the old Dover sole, sole Meunier if you
Wow.
I don't like sole, they're a bit too sweet for me. But they're really aggressive little devils, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, you could be sitting there and the rod will just go whack round. And the worst thing you can do is pick that rod up. You must sit there with your... Just sit there with your hands,
yeah.
sitting there like that, and maybe for 4 or 5 minutes and watch that rod top go. Because if you just reel in, it won't be there. So you really have to wait that length of time for them.
My mate Roy Marlowe always says that Rodney Rest never strikes too soon.
Yeah.
And it's a
No, it's right. It's right. I mean, I've tried before. I mean, I had those whacking bites and got, oh, that's on there.
Missed it.
No.
Yeah.
And how do they do not get hooked, I do not know.
That's weird, really, isn't it? Because they've not got very big mouths, have they?
No, they haven't. No.
What sort of baits are you using for them?
Well, ragworm is the main bait.
Is it?
Yeah, fishing from the open coastline, ragworm. As you go round towards the estuaries, lugworm comes into its own.
Really?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about the estuaries, because you said the sprats haven't arrived yet, and we're
Yeah.
talking about temperature. Do you think maybe it's down to the reduced salinity? Because there's the sea must... I know there's a lot of sea, and we've had a lot of rain. Do you reckon it's diluted it a little bit, keeping the sprats further offshore?
Yes, that could be a reason. Yeah, I have thought that one. You know, we've had so much rain, because, I mean, November time, those sprats were building. They were coming in. And everyone thought, oh, here we go again. We're going to have 2 months with
We had
bitless.
when I was out with Andrew Alsop in the Bristol
Yeah.
Channel, when we caught those lovely blonde rays,
Yep.
the sprats were thick under the boat.
Yep.
Thick under the
Yeah,
boat.
yeah. Well, they've gone now. They've
Yeah.
gone completely, you know.
Really?
So, yeah, it's looking good for the spring, hopefully, touch wood.
So if the sprats move in, the fish will move in with them, be difficult to catch.
Well, yeah, exactly, because the sprats are sort of mid to high water.
Yeah.
And the cod will come along and, you know, they get preoccupied on those sprats. So they'll all move up in the water, and our baits, which are on the bottom, they just, you know, just left alone.
I always let the
Fortunately.
experts give their secrets away, but I'll give you probably isn't a secret to you, but something that a charter skipper told me some years ago. The fish were definitely on sprats. We were catching big whiting, big channel whiting at the time, and as you brought them up, they were full of sprats. And he said, "I'll show you the bait." He said, "Using fresh sprats is a waste of time." He said, "If you get a fish that's got sprats in it, take them out, put 2 of them on, chuck that out." And do you know what? Partly digested sprats, the sprats that had already been eaten once, were devastating. Now, I've tried it wrecking for pollock. When I've caught pollock, and I've made sure nobody's looking, you know, sometimes they get little pouting inside them and
yeah.
whiting that they've eaten on the wreck, and nobody's looking. And I've tried it on the flying collar, and it's never, ever worked for me. But that was in the Thames estuary, actually. We were catching nice big whiting, occasional roker as thornback ray.
Yeah.
And he said, "Use these." And I tried it, and do you know, he was absolutely right. They've been skinned, basically. The digestive juices have got to work on them, and they look like skeletons with meat on, which sounds a bit bizarre, but that's what they were. And they worked every time. Worked, I tell you where else it worked. Fleetwood, I went out catching at Fleetwood as well, caught on mussels and dead sprats.
Right.
Amazing. Honestly,
I shall
worth it.
try that.
Definitely,
Yeah,
especially with 2 hooks.
Yeah, it's worth a go.
It's
Isn't it? You could
definitely
try
worth
one.
a try.
Yeah.
See, I don't like giving all my secrets, so I ain't got too many in sea fishing, but that's another one. It's only me and him that knows. Now, once again, disastrous weather around the coast has generated seas of nightmare proportions, and anglers still missing, and it's impossible not to fear the worst after going out in the dark in the Aberdeen area. If there's any risk at all, please don't attempt fishing. There is just no fish worth it. If you can find some familiar sheltered coastline, fishing shouldn't be too bad though. Once again, flatfish are the main targets, with a few cod still around on the east coast. Some of the Bristol Channel marks have produced rays from the shore, but it's very unlikely that you'll be getting a float for your sport. John, now, you're primarily a shore angler. You love your pier fishing, your shore fishing, and you're looking still some few whiting around, are there?
There's a few whiting, yeah, but you've got to pick and choose because there's a lot of small ones around.
Yeah.
The bigger ones you need lugworm, tip with a bit of fish bait.
Yeah.
And that'll find the slightly larger fish.
Now, I know before Christmas, whiting fishing is its best, going into dark and just after dark. But I've always thought of winter whiting as being more of a frost, of a calm water fish. Is it still the same coming into spring?
Yeah, it's still the same, although on our east coast, usually the whiting have gone by now.
Yeah.
But the last couple of years, they've stayed on after Christmas. Right through January and February. In fact, most of the year they've been staying, so, you know.
That's handy, really, because you said it's a dull time normally for fishing.
Yeah.
What about that? I know that sort of whiting are great fish eaters. Bass are great fish eaters.
Yeah.
Do you think come in for the whiting a bit earlier?
Oh, they will do. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. They're a predator fish, so they'll follow. You know, if there's whiting there to be eaten, they'll certainly go for them.
It's also coming up for ray time, and I know you love catching your thornbacks, and that's a cracker.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a lovely.
That was off Orford Island.
Was it?
Yeah, Orford Island. Yeah, yeah. That's a place really that we don't see too many thornbacks. But the past couple of years, they've started to move in.
Well, do you know thornbacks and rays of all kinds? There seem to be more of them around now than there have been. I don't know whether they're being targeted less by the commercials.
Well, I only know from experience that 20 years ago, you'd hardly see a thornback. You'd hardly see a thornback anywhere. From the boats, for sure. Yeah. And then the last 5 or 6 years, they've started to move in closer and closer and closer.
I've got to say, we've got to look forward, haven't we?
Well, yeah, I suppose we have, yeah. That was a crazy crazy 3 hours on Walton Pier.
Really?
Yeah. I had 12.
Did you really?
12, on a down tide. And it was blowing an absolute hoolie.
Was it?
It was blowing a force 8 gale, yeah.
And the sea's always more coloured than the East Coast, I always think, because it's a lot of sand.
Well, there's a lot of mud still.
And you're still catching the coloured water?
Yeah, still catching the coloured water, yeah, yeah.
This is really interesting, because you've brought in a bass rig that I would never have considered. Now, I'm a great rubber eel user. I use them over the wrecks for pollock. I've fished them off the rocks in Devon and Cornwall as well, casting just a light carp rod on a long trace, casting out and just bumping them back across the bottom. But you use this is
I use this on a sleeper.
It's like the old garfish rig.
Well,
the old
it is really.
Garfish
We've got a bit of knot in there, but never mind.
So what you got is 2 of these.
Yeah. Basically what you do, you just cast your sleeper rod out with just a straight line and a grip lead on, and just leave maybe 20 yards into the tide. Then just clip this on to the line. Let it run.
Let's start from the bottom. So you've got your two red gills.
They're in tandem. One's slightly longer than the other one. The trace is slightly longer than the other one.
And you come down, you've got a swivel with both the traces coming off.
Yeah.
Couple of bullets, they just for weight?
Yeah, it's just to basically bring those down to maybe 2 or 3 foot underneath the surface. Because those bass are sitting just behind the pier piles.
Yeah.
And they're just waiting for something to come past. So, and then basically what you do, you've got your line coming down from the tip, down onto your grip lead.
So you clip that onto the main line.
Yep.
That slides down.
Yep.
The float then comes up.
Yep.
So that keeps that, as you say, that control below the surface.
Yeah, and it's got to be done with the tide run, obviously. Yeah. Because they've got to be fluttering enticingly. Yeah. And then you just leave it as a sleeper rod, so you can be fishing with another rod. And then basically the bite you'll get is whack straight over it, the line will come back slack, and you've got to be there to, whack it in, reel it in. It's great fun, great fun.
And last of all, I can't let the show go by without seeing your pièce de résistance, the beast from the east.
Yeah.
A stingray off the beach, St Osyth.
St Osyth Beach, yeah.
It's famous for, isn't it?
Yeah, it has been. I mean, the last couple of years has been a bit touch and go with them. Yeah, they've come more from the south coast than our coast.
Still a great fish.
Oh, great fish, yeah, great fish.
People get 50, 60 pound fish off our shores at any time of the year. It's a magnificent species. Well done, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Time's caught up with us for another week. Remember to keep in touch with us via the website and Twitter and to send us your young angler photos and any questions you've got on good old-fashioned email. Old-fashioned. It's been great chatting today, John. Thanks so much
Cheers,
for coming
Keith.
in, mate.
It's been nice.
Really enjoyed
Been
it.
great.
Now, next Friday, my guest will be predator specialist Eric Edwards, a member of the England Lure Squad and the Pike Anglers Club of Great Britain. We're on at 7 o'clock on Sky Sports 2. That's next week's show. I'm going to be joined by Pike Angler Eric Edwards, 7 p.m. on Sky Sports 2. Don't forget, all our weekly shows and some other great content from previous programmes as well is available on demand in the Sky Sports section of Catch Up. I'll see you next week. Take care, and of course, tight lines. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Well done.
Great.
Lovely.
Thank you.
I'll remember that. It's
Yeah,
great.
that's good.
Watch all 6 Sky Sports channels on your mobile and online.